What's up? It's Riccio and Janda back with you, and we're taking a look at the division leaders and the contenders around the NHL. The Leafs have pulled away again in the North Division. Randip, how do the Leafs stack up against other division leaders around the NHL?
It's impressive that they've been able to pull away in the North, but when we're talking about the four divisions in the NHL, I don't have them in the top two, that's for sure. They're number 3 on my list. I got the Colorado Avalanche at number 1. The Washington Capitals are at number 2. Got the Toronto Maple Leafs there, and at the time of recording, the Florida Panthers are at the top of that division, so I got them at number 4. So Leafs fans might not be happy, but they're not in my top 2.
Yeah, I think Leaf fans need a bit of a reality check, and that it's just, while they are the best team in the North Division, and that is quite clear, and it's been quite clear for a while, there's still a lot that this team has to figure out, and maybe does before the deadline. But I think they've got to make some moves if they are going to be in that category with Colorado, and even look beyond some of the division leaders. You know, the New York Islanders are really good this year. The Vegas Golden Knights haven't gone away, even with all their salary cap issues. I don't know if I even put the Leafs in my top 5 teams in the league, even as good as they've been in the North Division. Now, if you want a lesson in why the Leafs just aren't quite there yet, maybe watch a few Avalanche games, or, watch a few games with the Vegas Golden Knights. Watch the top teams in the league, the true Stanley Cup contenders, and compare them against the Leafs, and you'll see that Joe Thornton, Wayne Simmons, they're just not getting it done right now. The Leafs need to add a little if they're really going to be a true Cup contender.
They do need to add in a couple of knocks against the Leafs, and the reason I say they're not in my top 2, especially out of 4 teams right now, is let's start with the schedule, right? The Leafs have been playing the North Division right now, which is, as we see, compared to some of those teams that Florida's playing against, some of those teams that Washington's playing against, and even in the West, where you have Colorado playing against Vegas and a much improved Minnesota team, among others, the level of competition in the North is inferior. And Montreal could make this a bit of a race if they catch up and they use their games in hand. But what have we seen from Montreal this year? That they're not a complete team. They have their elements that they're lacking as well. They're deep, but do they have that high end? The problem with the Leafs right now is goaltending is a major question mark. If you're having those question marks right now during the season, you better believe it's going to be a question mark in the playoffs. And the other thing is, you do have the high-end talent, and that's a good thing. You want players like Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner. They're among the best in their age group and among the best at their positions. But what do you have beyond that? You need 1 or 2 more pieces along the wings.
Yeah.
And that's where they really lack to me, and that's why I have them at 3rd.
Well, I still see a Leaf team, and hey, look, they're dominating the North Division. They win while not even playing their best on a lot of nights. And we've seen that more recently with some of the games they've had against Calgary. But it's just, there's still an element to them where they shut off and they get burned, and we've seen that far too often. And it happened against them, against Columbus last year. And, they still have to prove it in the playoffs, man. They get Winnipeg in the first round. Maybe that's a bit of a long shot, but Winnipeg is a team with the formula that can absolutely beat the Leafs. They've got great goaltending, and they can hit you on the quick strike with guys like Ehlers and Scheifele and all of the offensive firepower that they've got up front. That's Winnipeg's game, is they just hit you in transition, and they do it so often, and they do it so well. That could really hurt a team like the Leafs. Anytime goaltending comes into the conversation, Leafs could be a problem. Carey Price, does he find it again in the playoffs like he did in the bubble last year? These are very big conversations that the Leafs, I think, still need to address at the deadline, and that's why they're not a top contender. I don't even have them in my top 5. I have Tampa ahead of them. I have Carolina. The Islanders I'd put ahead of the Leafs, and certainly Vegas and Colorado as well.
Okay, the disrespect is real from Dan Riccio on the Leafs. Not even in the top 5.
What do you mean? I'm a Toronto guy. People always yell at me in the comments about this. I'm just being realistic with everybody.
You can't win. You can't win with the Western audience. You can't win with the Eastern audience with this take. But defensively, they are improved, right? The goals against, the goal differential shows that. But do they have that next level? That next level that you need to be an actual juggernaut, like Chris Johnston said. Are they that team? I don't believe they are.
Well, look at the other teams, and let's look at them, and who are the real juggernauts. I mean, you mentioned Colorado as your top team there. what is it about Colorado that sets them apart right now that pretty much consensus around the hockey world, they are the number one?
Well, they're complete. The forward group is absolutely stacked. And defensively, what do you have? You have Cale Makar, you got Devon Taves, you got Girard. Those are pretty decent defensemen you got in your top three right off the bat. And this year, they're getting top 10 goaltending, if not better than from Grubauer as well. And that's just a complete team, a balanced team. The Colorado Avalanche, that the way that they play right now, they play a very fast style. And we've seen what those individual players can do, but their team game is just solid right now. They're in a position where they don't even have to add. Like, if Joe Sakic wants to add, and he wants to add a little bit of depth, it would really help the team, but they don't necessarily need that, Dan. They are just complete from top to bottom, and that's what makes them really good. Where when they've been building out this team, whether it's through the draft or just making those pickups, Nazem Kadri was a classic example of that. But even through free agency, they've just done it smart, and they've hit all those weaknesses. Where right now they don't look like they have any weaknesses, and that truly is a juggernaut. They can beat any team, like any team across the league. Colorado's the favorite in that matchup.
Yeah, and it's been unbelievable the way that they have really progressed this year and have really hit a high level. You want to see them continue that into the playoffs. And the only thing, and we mentioned this in our last video, but maybe they could use some depth in goal just in case of injury. But there's a lot of teams looking for that sort of thing ahead of the deadline. I'm going to poke at the Washington Capitals. Now, as we tape this video, they are tied with the New York Islanders for that top spot in that division. But I think the Washington Capitals, to borrow a term that we use often on our show on Sportsnet 650, they're a bit of a fugazi, as Donnie Brasco would say. They do a lot, they score a lot of goals, but you look at a lot of what the Capitals do, and they really overperform the amount that they create. And of course, they've got Ovi, they've got Kuznetsov, they got Backstrom, they got Carlson, they got so much that they're able to do that. They've got really lethal shooters that continue to push that envelope, and that's why they're always able to outperform those statistics. But I think come playoff time, that's kind of a team I point at and I say, I don't know, if you go cold for a little bit, you could easily lose in the first round of the playoffs. We saw that last year with them, and I think I don't know if I see enough in the Capitals that they can make another long run this year.
Okay, this is where we disagree. Defensively, they are pretty loose. I'll give you that much. They haven't been good on that front, but their high end, their back end, that makes them, they're going to rely on those guys. And that power play, last time I checked, still top 10 in the NHL. They're going to rely on their best players to score goals. Alexander Ovechkin, Backstrom, all those guys, that's the power of that team. They're never going to be a lock-it-down New York Islanders type of team, but that's the problem I see. The one matchup that can hurt them is the New York Islanders. Yeah. The New York Islanders can just clamp down on you. So if there's one team you got to watch out for if you're Washington, it's down the stretch, but also potentially in the playoffs. Their kryptonite are the New York Islanders. So that's the only reason I'm wary.
Yeah, and I think a big thing about these division races is getting first place is big. Whether it's for the Colorado Avalanche, you get Arizona as that fourth place team. Certainly in the Central, you'd much rather face Nashville or Chicago than Carolina or Tampa Bay. That would, those first place spots in each of those divisions, very important. Hit us up in the comments. What do you think? What are the Leafs? Are they a true contender? Are they still a little bit on the outside? Where do they rank against the other division leaders in the National Hockey League? We'll be back with another edition. Always like and subscribe on the Sportsnet YouTube channel.